very quiet though as I work. Each color is working left and right, up and down. So you're spreading the color out so you don't have a bright side and a weak side. You have a continuum of ideas in different venues. In other words, some are more transparent, some are more opaque, some are quiet, some are getting juicy, etc. Then, of course, you can really have fun by mixing. Thank you, my friend. Now, brush handling and painting is, you kind of have to be able to handle a brush a little bit. Knowing how to handle a knife helps. But that little gesture is starting to pay off because it's controlling the left and right side of my painting without separating it. As I push this part down, I'm pulling that part up. So I'm keeping that game going. That way I get more of this feeling rather than that. Now, a lot of painters always remind me how wrong I am. I always like that. And they say, you know, in the 12th century, right up to the 1400s, they would have a red side and a green side. I say, yeah, that's true. And that made it expand. But then they had to put that red and green in the design in the center to bring the eye back. I don't like to work that way. I'm lazy. Laziness is absolutely primary to being a good painter. Okay, now I'm playing a little Hoffman-esque crap. Okay. You know it. If you're not careful, we're gonna have a painting, and I don't know what the hell to do with the painting. Kind of gooey. Now, if you notice, I'm mixing color and color and knocking color down using the canvas to make tones. Because that way, I'm speeding up this part of the process. You're doing everything there that you would normally do over a period of time. Now, every time I push something into something, I'm pushing it back so something comes forward. This concept of expansion and contraction, which Hoffman called push-pull, and the only reason he said that is because he couldn't speak English well. He was talking about breath. That's what you want to feel. You want, as you're looking at the painting, you want to travel. And you want to feel it emerge. His ideas come directly from Cézanne. He didn't invent anything. He invented the language. He was a scientist. He invented 139 devices in Germany. But being an artist, he never copyrighted anything. The measurement they used to measure the distance of stars, he invented. But no copyright. So no money. Isn't that lovely? you have to be decisive when you're working in this technique. And sometimes it's rather frightening because, I mean, the worst thing that can happen is you have a nice bonfire.
In the living room.
So I'm knocking that thing back. I'm gessoing the green yellow up through here to organize a little bit. Then I'm going to cut through. The only black I've ever bought is Vine Black. I get it at Kramer's, you know, by the kilo. That's the only one. And all blacks I make. You see my paintings in black and that. I also always lay my blacks over red. All my gestures in that are red, and then I put the black on top. As it ages, the black becomes warm. So these are things I didn't invent. This comes right out of the Renaissance. What I don't keep in the Renaissance is the mathematics. Mathematics change according to the century you live in. We don't use the same scale in anything today that we did 100 years ago, unfortunately.
What red did you put under the blacks?
Well, I mix, like you can mix complementaries together, you get a black. I can mix umber and Prussian blue and get a black. I can mix umber, blue, and a little violet and get a thing of streaked violets and black.
But when you say you put a red under the black,
Yeah.
Is it a cad?
Cadmium red medium. If I can find it, I use vermilion. If I can't, and I really want vermilion, I'll make it. I put orange and cadmium red medium, and I get a vermilion. But it's not as good as the Dutch. The Dutch make the best vermilion. But these all help you paint. It's about the aging process of your paint, not the immediacy. The problem with most people is they think what they have now is the painting. No, your painting is judged over time. And as the painting dissolves into gray or death or dying, like it groans and cries a lot, people are less desirable of your next painting. So the growth of your painting and the complexity of the painting comes from how you apply the paint and what techniques you use. It's that simple. No painter today that's a creative painter is copying anything. The really good painters are understanding what I had to understand, that the basic craft of paint and seeing has not changed for thousands and thousands of years. The Renaissance actually survived because they kept looking at the Greeks. The Greeks had already solved these problems structurally. They understood a surface. They already had color in the shadow. So that's why, if you notice, when you read about Rome or about the Renaissance, they're always asking about the Greek manuscripts, because that's where the knowledge was. And it was lost because of war or whatever. So we're always playing. It's always different. Everything's a little different. Oh, okay, I'm going to do that. Okay, now I'm going to scrape, make a division, run this in the back. Now comes the hard part. What are you saying? Now, when you use white as a color, you pull it up in some places so that it feels like a part of the overall idea rather than just a surface. I remember listening to a discussion with Romar Bearden and this guy, other artist, on radio back in the 60s. And this guy was telling Bearden that the only colors were red, yellow, and blue. And Bearden on the radio says, "You ever look at a flower? That pretty much ended that. So he was pretty sharp. And color, white to painters is a color, black is a color. To science, it is not. But to a painter, everything's a color. Because they have to look at it as a substance and not as a piece of science. That goes out the window with painters. It's the same thing with what I call painter's logic. If you watch me, I don't paint in 1, 2, 3. I paint large, small, medium. I'm constantly trained for rhythm. That's called painter's logic or painter's math. That was taught to me by Videotaped when I was doing a leaf. He said, that's nice, but it's not a painting. Pretty much destroyed that piece of work. You notice I'm constantly breaking up and reinventing, and that's the beauty of white. And then we'll take a break and I'll beat the hell out of it again. What do you think? This is too bright, so I have to knock that down. This is too bright, so I knock it down. See the difference? And this goes here. And I'll pull a little Chardin right here. Love Chardin. He's taught me so much. There we go. Okay, that's an unholy mess, don't you think?